What's good out there, Liquid Trucking? Merry Christmas and welcome into the Liquid Trucking Podcast, episode 56. I'm your host, Marcus. Thank you so much for being here with us on Christmas Day. This is me hoping that a lot of you guys are actually with your families today and won't hear this episode until after Christmas Day. But either way, we are going to bring the Christmas spirit with this episode. I'm really excited about it. Got some real Christmas-themed things for you. I've got a poem for you, a little 'Twas the Night Before Christmas poem that we've kind of worked into trucking 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And I'm going to share with you one of my favorite super easy Christmas snacks that you can make. It's a recipe that is so simple, it's going to blow your mind. It's probably better done at home rather than in the truck. But if you have a toaster oven, you could definitely do this in the truck. Toaster oven, hot plate, you'd be just fine. Even a crock pot, you'd be able to do this with. So I'm looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a fun one. I love Christmas. I don't know about you guys, but for me, Christmas, the big hang up with Christmas for me is that I would like to do my shopping early, but I don't. I do I build my list early, but I don't go out and shop until the last minute, and I hate that about myself, but I have to because I can't not spoil the surprise. I really always want for my gifts that I've put all this thought and all this effort into and spent some money on and wrapped. I want you to have it now. I want to go, if I buy it on October 28th, I'm not going to make it till December 25th before I give it to you or before I just blow the surprise and tell you what it is. So, I am, as you guys know, we record these a little bit in advance. Right now, I've got some time left, but not much. So I hope as we sit here and you guys listen to this on Christmas morning, you guys got all your Christmas shopping done and got home to see your family safe and sound. And for those of you that are still out there on the road, trucking along and moving America during the biggest holiday that there is in this country, a tip of the cap to you and a giant thanks. We understand that you don't necessarily have to be out there on Christmas Day, but you are. So thank you for what you do. Please be safe out there. Keep the shiny side up, of course. And watch for some of those weather systems, man. I've seen some pretty hairy weather moving in, so be careful if you're still out there on the road. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. We've got a lot coming here. Also, coming up a little bit later, something that I forgot to mention is going to be a special message. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil the surprise. So a special message is all we're going to say. And also, real quick, because I need to say this every time, don't forget to jump on to our podcast website. You can head over to liquidtrucking.com and click the podcast banner at the top of the page. That will take you to our one-stop shop for everything Liquid Trucking Podcast. It's a great place. You can listen to all the episodes out there. I think I've told you guys this before. We actually get most of our listens from web browsers. That means like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever you're hearing those. We have more people listening to the Liquid Trucking Podcast just by going to the website. So it's a very important piece of this whole show, and we appreciate your support there. We can tell that you guys are clicking on that thing. Just keep telling your friends about it. Once again, liquidtrucking.com, and click the podcast banner at the top of the page. Time to get rolling with our Christmas episode. Again, Merry Christmas to all of you Liquid Trucking drivers and staff members out there. This is going to be a fun one. Strap in.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, Liquid Trucking, it's time for us to get to a little poem here. Maybe it's a poem, a sonnet, I don't know. Fairy tale kind of seems like not the thing, but 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. We all know the story, I guess. When I was a kid, my mom used to read it to me out of a book that had a bunch of, drawings and pictures and cool stuff in it. I've always kind of felt like it was a poem because it feels like it's written in prose. It doesn't matter. I'm about to read you a very special version of this poem that we tweaked so that it would be perfect for truckers, and not just truckers, tanker drivers, believe it or not. So let's get into our 'Twas the Night Before Trucker Christmas poem. 'Twas the night on the highway, and all through the lanes, snow swirled like a dance, ice gripped every chain. The tanker was loaded, the driver prepared, with courage and grit for the weather out there. The headlights cut through the cold, frosty air, while visions of family made the long haul fare. When out of the blacktop arose such a clatter, a passenger car spun. The lane didn't matter. "Brake gently," he whispered, his pulse running high, for the surge in the tanker could flip him awry. He eased on the wheel, his instincts precise, avoiding the chaos of cars on the ice. The fools in sedans zoomed past with a flash, tailgating a semi, a near-fatal dash. "Oh, four-wheelers," he muttered, "you've no clue at all. A tanker can't stop like your light little haul." He pressed on, undeterred by the icy parade, navigating closures and the snowplow brigade. Through blizzards and black ice, through sleet and the chill, his goal lay ahead, his warm home on the hill. As dawn broke and the highway began to clear, and the thought of his family brought a smile near, he pulled to the driveway, the engine's hum stilled, heart lightened with joy as his soul was fulfilled. And he exclaimed as he hugged them, his long trek complete, "Safe driving to all. May your roads be ice-free." Joining me next here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast to talk some Christmas traditions is Liquid Driver Mike Stanfield. Mike, always great to have you here, man. Welcome back to the podcast.
It's a pleasure, man. Merry Christmas, everybody.
And Merry Christmas to you. I just asked you off the air. Sounds like you're going to get to be back with the family celebrating Christmas this year.
For sure. That's definitely one of those things that I do not miss.
Awesome. I love it. So is Christmas kind of one of your favorite holidays? Would you say that?
Yeah, mainly because it's a for sure thing that I get to be with my family.
And how big's the family, Mike? Remind me.
I've got a wife, 4 kids, and then, everybody on my in-laws side of the family and all that.
So it's going to be a full house then for you.
Well, yeah, on Christmas Day, it's just us, but we do a lot of stuff on Christmas Eve, too.
Okay, very cool. Well, so Christmas Eve for my family has always been, well, if I go way back to when we were kids, like young kids, we had the Nintendo, the old NES entertainment system. It was upstairs in this little tiny room with like a 12-inch TV, and that was where I played Mario and Tetris, right? But on Christmas Eve, my dad would bring the Nintendo downstairs sometimes and hook it up on the big TV, and then he would even go and rent us a new game to play. And I realized, Mike, that this was kind of just a way to get us kids occupied, because the real fun is actually happening where the adults are, because they're drinking Tom and Jerry's and they're eating little finger foods and having all this great conversation and playing games. And now that I'm an adult, look, I still love my video games, but I'm on the Tom and Jerry and the poo-poo side for sure. That's kind of my family's Christmas tradition for Christmas Eve. What do you guys get into on Christmas Eve?
First of all, dude, I totally forgot about renting video games until you brought that up. That just brought back a bunch of memories, but That's pretty dope. But really, our Christmas starts like when we have Thanksgiving dinner. And I know you guys are probably like, blasphemy, but hear me out. So what we do is while we're all there, everybody's together, we write, our names down on a piece of paper and 3 things that we like or that we're interested in or that we want. And then we put it in like this bowl and they shake it up and then we pull names out. And whoever's name that we got, we're in charge of buying their present on the gift exchange on Christmas Eve.
That's cool.
So, pretty cool. This year's limit is $70. So I was pretty stoked about that because I was like, I got into Dixon flannels. So I'm like, I want this Dixon flannel right here. Anyways, I digress.
I saw the picture, man. And listen, I am a big flannel guy. I don't think you and I got to meet when I was at the terminal there, but I was in a flannel every single day, and Dixon makes some of the nicest ones. So I'm sure that all 3 of your items were Dixon flannels, right?
Well, that, motorcycle stuff, and PlayStation stuff. So
okay, all right. Yeah, so a solid list there, though.
Very, very, very solid, very expensive list. Anyway, so Christmas Eve, man, we have this tradition to where like we'll do like a game based on a Christmas movie. So you answer questions, you get a question right, you get to pick a prize or a present or whatever. Last year was The Santa Claus, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Such a good one.
Yeah, and we'll make dinner based on what they are having in the movie. So the Santa Claus, of course, Tim Allen destroys the turkey, and they go to Denny's for dinner. So that's what we did. We went to Denny's. We had such a great time.
I was going to ask if you guys went to Denny's. That's so perfect. I love it.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we enjoyed that so much last year that we're doing it again this year. Not the movie game, not the game for the movie, but just going to Denny's to eat, because I think I don't remember what the movie is that we're going to be answering questions on is. My brother-in-law picked it out, so I don't know. I totally forgot. But anyways, yeah, so it was really cool. So we answered the questions, and we get a prize amount of two picks, right? So if you've gotten your two answers correct and you've gotten your presents, then that's it. And then at the end, you can exchange if you want with other people, all that. And then the kids have their own little game that they play, that they have their own little kid prizes and stuff. I think last year they sat around and circled presents around, and whenever the music stopped, that's what present you got.
Oh, so like musical chairs
cool,
kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then we do the gift exchange, and then, we eat dessert, and then go home. And then Christmas morning, my wife always makes the best freaking breakfast casserole in the world. I look forward to it every single year.
I bet, man.
Every year I'm like, because you just wake up and you smell it, and you're like, yes, coffee and breakfast casserole.
Yep. For me, it's my mom will do a bunch of the like sweetbreads. She'll do banana bread and pumpkin bread and all those different kinds of breads. And then she always, not always, but here in the last like few years, she's been making monkey bread. You ever had monkey bread?
Oh, dude, yeah. I'm fat. Come on now.
Dude, it's so good, but I can't imagine, like, when I sit down and think about it, because for banana bread, it's great, but it's got to have a big slob of peanut butter on it for me. I love pumpkin bread, but it's only better when it's the pumpkin bread that they put the icing on the top of, And then monkey bread is nothing but just sugar and bread. And I mean, I probably take in 3 weeks worth of sugar while we're opening Christmas gifts. It's ridiculous, but I love it, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, it's like Thanksgiving, man. Like, you overeat on Thanksgiving. It's the same thing on Christmas. When kids are opening presents, you overeat. You overeat breakfast. That's what you do.
Yep, it's very true.
And then you make the kids pick up all the wrapping paper and put it in the bag.
Yeah,
so you guys made the mess, not me.
That's funny. I was going to ask it. I have a dad who does not like things to be super, like chaotic, and so this is probably going back like 15, 20 years ago now. We used to just have kind of one big bag in the middle of the room. And now, before, like, we all sit down, everybody takes their places, everybody's gifts have been passed out, and they're sitting next to their chairs. The last thing that happens is my dad comes in and hands everybody a garbage bag. And it's your responsibility to put your shit in it. So it's, I like how you see, that was probably why we had a big bag when I was a kid, is because you could just use the child labor that was free in your home. Just make the kids clean it up, like you said. Now that I'm an adult, he probably doesn't think I'll fall for that shit anymore.
Hey, dude, we spent hundreds of dollars on these presents. You guys can pick up the trash.
Yeah, dude. All right, so here's one for you, Mike. All the way back, going back to when you were a kid to all the way to now in your entire life, what's the best Christmas gift you've ever received?
Oh, that's a hard one, man.
Tough, right?
I think the best, most excited one that I got, I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved every Christmas. I loved every present that I got, because I wasn't one of those kids that was like, oh, you got me this. I was super grateful for everything I got, Not to toot my own horn, but I was raised by my grandparents pretty much. and they would tell me, "Hey, dude, what the hell? You're being a little shithead. You better be thankful," But it was when I got my first PlayStation, man. I remember I kind of knew I was getting it because my parents would put the presents under the tree periodically, right? So they would just be sitting there for weeks on end before Christmas, just like tormenting us, like, they're there. And I saw what looked like a CD case, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, dude, I bet you they got me a PlayStation. And sure enough, man, I opened that sucker up, dude. I couldn't even get all the rest of my presents undone before I was already downstairs trying to hook that son of a bitch up, man. I was ready to play. I was so excited, dude.
I bet, man. I bet. And that is kind of indicative of our generation. I would be willing to bet if I were to take a random sampling of 100 people between yours and my age and ask them that same question, Mike, I would be willing to bet that 50% of them would say a video game console of some sort. Because it wasn't, when those things first came out, it wasn't like they were, and I mean, it's still kind of the case. Like, they're expensive, and they were expensive back then. And so it wasn't something that when they released, everybody got one. It was like, no, they released them, and everybody was waiting for Christmas. And that was when you might get it. And it's for me, I have two, and only because you gave me that nostalgia with the PlayStation. I do remember very vividly opening up my Nintendo 64 as a kid at Christmas time and just being over the moon about that. But I will say, I think the most special gift that I ever got for Christmas, one year in my stocking, and I believe this was 1998. Could have been earlier than that, though. I pulled out a little tin, like a little, tin of candy or something like that, and I opened it up, and inside that tin were 2 tickets to watch the Portland Trail Blazers play the Utah Jazz. I was and still am, even though I'm so dejected by the franchise, I'm a giant Portland Trail Blazers fan. And this was the Clyde Drexler, Terry Porter, Kevin Duckworth team that was playing against John Stockton and Karl Malone. And it was just, I remember, and here's the crazy part, Mike, the game was on New Year's Day. So I got these tickets, and I had like a week to just sit with my excitement. But we got there. I got a high five from the players when they were coming out of the tunnel. It was the first professional sports experience I'd ever had. Never been to anything but a college football game before that. And I still to this day think that it's a reason I'm such a rabid sports fan, is because my dad gave me that experience. It was just him and I. We made the 6-hour drive to Portland. I still remember that to this day. And the video game console, when you think about it, I got a lot more hours of entertainment out of that. But the gravity of that game, I think, for me, because, you don't realize it at the time, but I'm sitting there watching Hall of Famers, multiple Hall of Famers on the court. Like, there's only a few people that get that chance to do something like that. So I felt pretty special,
Yeah, that would have been a pretty awesome gift.
And especially as
I'm not a huge basketball fan, but that sounds pretty cool.
And it was one of those things where I didn't ever ask for it because I never thought that it was a chance. Like, I was like, no way that Dad's going to get tickets and we're going to drive 6.5 hours and stay the night in a hotel. Like, that's a huge undertaking. And so it was a complete surprise. And there's that memory that sticks with me, and I have one more, and then I'm going to let you get back to it because I know you're busy today. Do you guys ever drive around and look at the Christmas lights as a family that are in your community or your town that you live in?
Yeah, actually, we started that like 4 years ago because my oldest daughter one year said the only thing that she wanted for Christmas was to go get some Starbucks and drive around and look at Christmas lights. I was like, okay.
Sold.
Yeah, sure. That's all you want. You got it, man. So, yeah, and every year since then, even though she's going to be turning 18 tomorrow, she doesn't want to do that kind of stuff anymore. We still carried on that tradition because we had such a good time with it. So, yeah.
It's very cool, man. It's a lot of fun. There's a couple of people in my community, a husband and wife back in Enterprise, Oregon, way up in the mountains, a little tiny town, population 2,000. They used to set up this gigantic display every single year up in our little neighboring town called Joseph. And it was like they had this big property that with a big like loop driveway, and it was their property. You had to go into it one way, and you would drive all the way through it and all the way around the back way, and you still probably couldn't see everything that they had set up. They've gotten too old to do that anymore, and so the fairgrounds, they donated all of their stuff to the fairgrounds, all of their decorations, and now the fairgrounds each year sets up a tribute to these people, and you can go drive through on like the rodeo grounds, basically, and they've got all of their stuff set up, and it's been so cool because I remember seeing that stuff at their house when I was 10. And now 30 years later, I'm going to drive through the fairgrounds here in just, a few days, and I'll see that stuff again. I think that's what Christmas is all about, man. Like, we make such a big effort to get everybody all the things that they want, but really, those memories of just sitting there next to the family and just enjoying that time together are really what this holiday is all about.
Absolutely, man. And, I didn't really think about it until I became a parent, having that, bondage with the family, having that time just to sit and be thankful and enjoy each other's company. It's probably one of the best Christmas present I could ever have, to make sure that my entire family's together,
That's awesome, Mike. Well, listen, I super appreciate you coming on here. I got you on short notice. Mike and I sent a couple text messages back and forth, and I had him on the phone 5 minutes later. So understand that his Christmas present to me this year was bailing me out of a little bit of a pinch. So really appreciate that, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. Is there a message that you'd like to send to your fellow Liquid drivers, Liquid staff, or any family or friends that might be listening before I let you go for our Christmas episode?
Sure. First of all, Marcus, it's always a pleasure to be on here. I'm glad I can help you out. Second of all, you guys know that, weather's starting to get bad again, and it's a year that we all dread as drivers. Just make sure you take your time, slow down, pull over if you have to. Make sure you guys are getting home safe to your families. And I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Mike. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Not a problem. My pleasure, Marcus.
Now, I told you back in the intro that I was going to bring you one of my favorite super simple Christmas treat recipes, and we've come to that part of the show now. I kind of don't like the name of this because I just hate when people call something that they really like crack. Like, oh my God, football's my crack. No, crack is crack, and there's no getting around it. Let's not call things that are fun and jovial crack. It's just not a good marriage. But since this is not my recipe, I didn't come up with it, I'm going to let the powers that be in the foodie world call this Ritz cracker crack, okay? I also don't like the way that cracker and crack go together because I feel like a lot of times I accidentally say Ritz cracker crap, and it's totally not that. It is 100% not that. But it's a super easy recipe. I know that there's plenty of versions of this, and you don't need salty, or you don't need Ritz crackers necessarily. You can do this club crackers. You can do it with saltines. It all really depends on the flavor profile that you want. The Ritz one is a little bit more buttery and a little bit more smooth. So that's why I went with Ritz on this one. Plus, it's like, is there anything more American than a Ritz? Yeah, it's probably a saltine, to be honest with you. Because those things, I mean, saltines have been around since they were going to school on horses, man. Saltines are the shit, to be honest with you. I love them. I'm a cracker guy. I just kind of realized that. Like, I've never actually stepped back and understood that there's always a box of crackers in my house, and it doesn't really matter. There's one cracker I'm not okay with, and you Midwesterners are probably going to do backflips when you hear this. But chicken and a biscuit can get wrecked, okay? That's the grossest cracker I've ever laid hands on. You're going to tell me you would rather put chicken and a biscuit cracker in your mouth that doesn't taste anything like a chicken biscuit when you could have like a club cracker or a Ritz cracker or a saltine cracker? Child, get on out of here with that garbage. Chicken and a biscuit, shut them down. Just take all their cracker-making stuff and throw the flavor powder away, put it in a river, and let it flow to the ocean for all I care, and get yourself all those cracker ingredients from Chicken and a Biscuit and ship them to Ritz or Club or Saltine, okay? Because they'll do much better things with them. I digress. It's time for me to get to my Ritz cracker crack recipe. And I'm going to give you a couple variations of this thing because there's a couple really cool ways that you can do it. Only 5 ingredients here. You're going to need a box of Ritz crackers, okay? The recipe that I'm reading from says 50 Ritz crackers. I'm not a guy that's going to sit down and count out 50 Ritz crackers. I'm going to go by the sleeve. I'm guessing we're talking 2 sleeves here, maybe 1 sleeve. I don't know. I'm not a Ritz expert. You need 1 cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 2 cups of good semi-sweet chocolate chips, and a couple of teaspoons of sea salt flakes, and that part's really optional. You could do this. You could use just like kosher salt, like anything that's kind of got a thick salt grain to it, you could use on this, and it'll work just fine. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your crackers on a prepared pan in a single layer. And when I say prepared pan, a lot of people would go ahead and use like cooking spray on this, but I think that makes the crackers a little bit soggy on the bottom. So lay out parch or lay out tin foil. Actually, don't do tin foil because the gooey stuff's going to stick to it. So lay out parch paper on the bottom, and you'll save yourself a lot of time if you're working in your kitchen cleaning up. Once your oven or your toaster oven is preheated to about 375, stir together the butter and the brown sugar in a saucepan over medium-high heat. Bring it to a boil. Stir gently and constantly for 2 to 3 minutes. This is making like a caramel, almost kind of a toffee mixture. It will foam up on you a little bit. Just keep stirring it, okay? Pour that hot mixture over the Ritz crackers and then spread that out kind of evenly with a spatula. Now, it really helps here to have all your crackers kind of filling the tray that you're using so that when you try to spread this hot, sticky mess, the crackers won't move all over the place, okay? Now, here's a variation I want to tell you. You could melt a cup or 2 cups of peanut butter here in your microwave and pour the peanut butter over the Ritz crackers first before you do the toffee, okay? Let that set up for a few minutes if you're a peanut butter fan. Let it set up, let it thicken a little bit, let it harden a little bit. Then pour your hot toffee mixture, your hot caramel over the top and spread it out. Now it's going into the oven for 5 short minutes. That's all you need. Just bake this for a little bit until the edges kind of start to bubble and look a little bit brown. Then you're going to remove it from the oven and immediately sprinkle the chocolate chips over the top. This is important. You still need it to be hot and fresh out of the oven hot, okay? Put them in an even layer and let them sit for about 5 minutes until they're glossy and super melty, and you can just take your spatula and spread that chocolate all over the top. All you have to do here is place that pan in the freezer for an hour to set firmly. If you only have a refrigerator, you don't have a freezer that'll fit your pan, the refrigerator will work just fine. You're just going to want to make sure you let it sit out and cool for a little bit first on the countertop before you pop it into the fridge, if you're using a mini fridge especially, because something that warm in a mini fridge might cause some of your other stuff to warm up and spoil on you. I wouldn't want that. After this is all set, this is the fun part, really. If you've lined your pan with parchment paper, like I said, and you've left a little bit over the long edges, you can lift the parchment paper up and the whole Ritz crack sheet will come out. Take the pan out from underneath of it and just drop that sucker on your counter and it will break into a bunch of pieces. That's kind of the fun part, and I think that's really where the crack part comes into this. It's a treat that you don't really, I mean, you could cut it up, but it's more fun to just break it into pieces, so you've got some big and some little. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a toffee and chocolate fan, the Ritz crackers, you might think, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. Sprinkle the salt over the top of the melty chocolate. That's the last step because you want that salt to stick to the chocolate. You will have this sweet and salty, kind of sticky, caramely, gooey goodness. It's not really gooey. It's kind of crunchy, actually, because you let it set in the freezer. But if you like the peanut butter to add to that, you guys, it steps it up so much. I'm making this for my family this year when I go home for Christmas to see my parents and my sister and her family. I'm also going to be making this for a work party that we're having. And as you guys know, we're a virtual company. So I'm making this to bring to a Zoom meeting to show everybody, and then I'm going to eat an entire pan of it all on my own. So that's how much I love the recipe. I hope you enjoy it as well. I would love to hear you guys' results. What do you think about this? If you make it, shoot me a text, send me an email, podcast@liquidtrucking.com, and let me know. It's all about the Christmas spirit, and I'm just trying to spread it like crack, if you know what I mean. Bad reference, but that's okay. Enjoy the recipe. Merry Christmas once again. I'm going to say that a lot today. Welcome back into our very special Christmas edition of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I have two very special gentlemen here with me that wanted to come on and wish some messages out there for Christmas and also do a little bit of a year in review here on this episode. It's a great time for it. So please welcome GM of Liquid Trucking, Josh Schmidt, to the show. Josh, it's always great to have you back, and Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, Marcus.
Thank you. Also joining us here today, I've got VP of HR and Safety for Liquid Trucking. That's Jason Eisenman. You're no stranger to the show, Jason. Merry Christmas. Welcome back.
Thanks, sir. Merry Christmas to you and everybody listening.
Yeah, it's really cool to know that on Christmas Day that there are some drivers out there that might actually tune into this, and we just want to say thank you from all of us here at the podcast and everybody at Liquid Trucking as well for them making this podcast as cool and as big of a deal as it has been, Jason and Josh. I want to thank you guys as we get started off for even giving us this opportunity to make this podcast, and then thank the drivers as well, because you guys all provide so much content here to our podcast, and we just are so grateful for the opportunity to work with Liquid Trucking.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Echo that 100%.
So let's talk a little bit about some year in review stuff here, fellas. As far as kind of the big deals, I'm looking here at a 35th anniversary for the company. I feel like that one kind of gets lead billing here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's crazy that it's been that long already, and I guess one positive thing how we can continue to be successful is as we've been able to, kind of continue to build on the things that the people that came before us built and add on to that and to continue to shine it and make it better and invest. Sometimes it seems like, we're just putting one foot in front of the other and grinding through each day, each week, each month, and each year. But it's pretty cool when you look back at the past year or even 5 years, what we were able to accomplish together. So appreciate everybody.
Well said there, Josh. Any thoughts on the 35-year anniversary for the company, Jason?
Yeah, it's a remarkable feat, and everybody, just take myself, for example, I've been here about a third of that, and to sit and think about, all the stuff that happened before you showed up and all the people that might be listening that maybe worked here, have retired or moved on. It's a giant puzzle, and there's lots of pieces to make it all happen, and it's a lot to look back at for this year and all the years and kind of be proud of as a group.
Absolutely. And Josh, you mentioned the investment in the company, obviously a very important part of moving the company into the future and staying successful. Can we talk a little bit about some of those investments? I mean, listen, one part of it that I think is the glaring one that we'll mention first, new admin building. You guys have got your feet wet in there for sure. I was actually, the first time I visited the Plattsmouth terminal, that thing was kind of just 4 walls, and you guys were building it out on the inside. I've since seen it since it's been finished. It's amazing. How are you guys feeling about the new building and what's it done for the company this far? What type of things have you been able to accomplish with all that extra room?
Yeah, well, first of all, you mentioned all the investments in the company. My dad, I remember him telling me 35 years ago, if you're not growing, you're dying. So I've always held on to that. And we've just continued to grow over the past several years. And we were just playing out of space. And we needed more support people to grow. And it was good to put most of our support staff under one roof. I feel the communication is much better. The relationships are better. We get to see each other in person, sometimes sending an email or a text message or even a phone call isn't really as effective in communicating as just sitting down and discussing things with someone.
Amen to that. Take it from a guy that talks for a living. It's really a big part of communication, just to be able to get in with somebody and be in the same room with them. And it's a beautiful facility. Jason, are you liking the extra leg room that you've got there?
Yeah, we love the space, love the office. One thing I do miss and would like to take the opportunity to encourage all the drivers listening is to come on over. I know we moved a little bit away from where we used to be, but we miss you. We wish you guys stopped over more, and we hope to see more of you as we continue to grow with more plans down the road.
For sure. Now let's talk about you mentioned a new transloading facility or progress at a transloading facility, Jason. Can you walk me through that a little bit? This is out there in South Sioux City, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, much like one of Josh's favorite sport, which is golf. I'm going to tee it up a little for him, which this is because he's kind of the him and Chris are the masterminds behind it, I would say, but it having another mode of transportation come into the trucking industry and adding rail has been fun to watch. And whether they're building something or adding a scale, drivers can see the scales and different things. But I would like if Josh has some details, maybe like overall value of investment, like what the projected ideas are, in the 5 and 10 year for what that looks like. I think everybody would enjoy. I know I've heard it, but others would definitely enjoy hearing it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, this is a new thing for us, transloading, and you called me the mastermind. I'm going to sell myself short there and call Chris Baltuchis the mastermind there. But I'm very supportive. He's been pushing this for many years. We've wanted to do this for many years, and an opportunity came up to buy basically our neighbor's property that has rail access. So we did that, and we took a leap of faith, and Chris Baltuchis and his team up there, Blake Goss has been one of the main transloaders, and we've added some help since. We're spending a lot of money up there, and it's kind of a build it and they will come scenario. And we've got a lot of interest from a lot of vendors, and I guess the main goal in doing something like this is typically, which our drivers know this, we're loading at these third-party facilities where we have no control over schedules, how quickly we can get in and out of there. And this is just going to help us tremendously, being able to control our in and out times and just be more flexible for our own fleet and just cut down the sitting around. So that's kind of where we're at. We started in December of last year. We've been just transloading sulfuric acid. Right now, there's a giant grain elevator in the way. It's about 150 foot tall, one of those deals that were built 100 years ago. So we're going to have to spend a lot. We're taking that down as we speak. That'll leave some more room for some different load racks. We plan to transload caustic soda next, and we'll move on to other products from there.
That's so cool. The reason I'm really interested in hearing about this is because when I very first went out to visit Chris in South Sioux City and saw the Bartow terminal and everything, he mentioned this to us the very first time we met him, and he said, this is something we're working on. I don't know when it's going to come to fruition. Of course, that's been a long time ago now, and I think it's really cool from my perspective, at least, to see how excited Chris was about it. And then now, a year plus in the future, we're talking about you guys are adding products. You're doing some construction there to make it easier for you. I just think it's a really cool kind of microcosm of how Liquid is moving into the future. And I just want to say congratulations on that. I know that's a really big deal, and there's a lot of moving parts there, Josh, that probably caused some headaches over the year, but we're up and moving now, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, it sure is. We're excited for it too. It's we're not quite profitable yet, and we're still dumping money into it, but I believe in it. Chris believes in it. I think everybody here believes it's going to be a huge success for us.
Very cool. Well, Jason, did Chris, or excuse me, did Josh give it the billing that it deserved? You kind of teed him up there, and then he said, "I'm not the guy, it's Chris." What do you think? Anything to add to what Josh had to say there? Because this is pretty exciting.
No, I think Josh did a great job, and Chris and Josh were the masterminds. Because if you sit and listen to Chris, he's super excited all the time. Anytime you talk to him about it, and if you don't hear that, you'd almost have to be deaf. I hear it, and I don't even work with him closely. So yeah, I think the drivers should be excited long term. It'll add loads to the trucks and maybe some new freight lanes and all sorts of opportunities, which we're all looking for every day, whether we're sitting behind a desk or sitting behind the wheel. We all need more new opportunities to keep life invigorating, and that's part of that 35 years. I don't know that Roger, if he was on the call, he probably would have never thought it would be doing something like that all these years later. So who knows what happens in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Those are kind of the unknowns that are fun to be a part of.
Absolutely. It's very exciting to see it all happen, especially, I talk about my perspective. I'm kind of a fly on the wall, so I get to sit back and watch it all take place. And again, it's been so fun to work with Liquid Trucking and just watch this company run and to see it growing, to know how happy all the drivers are, all the ones that I talk to. Again, it's just it's very exciting stuff. And I kind of want to move a little bit to talking about something that was kind of focused on the drivers here, and that would be the second annual employee jamboree that went down in September. Really big deal you guys put on out there at the Plattsmouth Terminal for the drivers. Let's talk about it a little bit. Josh, what were your thoughts on the jamboree? How did it go down? And did you sink a hole in one out there at the chipping green? Because I know you're a golfer.
No, I didn't. I tried to golf, but I'm not that great at it. It seems like all the good golfers are the guys that are retired or really don't have to work as much as we do here. But
yeah,
we enjoy it.
That. I have a thing that I tell people, and that is that good golfers get paid to golf. The rest of us pay for the privilege, all right? So that's kind of the way I look at it.
That's right, exactly. But anyway, it was another success. Years ago, we used to have an annual, we called it an annual safety meeting, but it was a lot like the Jamboree. It was when we were a lot smaller company, and we sort of lost track of doing that each year. And Jason brought up the point earlier that, we moved this building and now we're 3/4 of a mile away from the rest of the facilities. And that's one bad thing about having this admin building over here. But we wanted to at least try to start bringing everybody together. This is our second year in a row of doing it. I think we're learning and improving, just like anything else. When you do something new, we're going to continue to try to do cool things at that meeting as we build on that moving forward.
It was really cool to see how excited the drivers got about it, and just to see all the pictures and everything, and also the fair. Let's not forget about that. We got a lot of Liquid drivers out there that know their way around the kitchen. Jason, you guys ate pretty well out there at the Jamboree, didn't you?
Yeah, Matt knows how to throw down some barbecue. You hear him on the podcast often. We mixed it up this year with some supporting a local restaurant and did some catering to mix in with that. Josh found a great local band, and we heard some great tunes, and we had even more people. I'd like to take just a minute and thank everybody that came to that. We look forward to the third annual next year. And like Josh said, we definitely have a lot to learn, as we're not great at throwing parties, but we're learning the last 2 years on how we can accommodate more people as we bring more people together. We see lots of employees, past and present, and family members and kids coming out, which is great to see everybody, connecting to a company in a distant fashion like that when everyone's so spread out all the time.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And Josh, I feel like that's as a guy that's kind of looking over all this as it happens at the employee jamboree, to see the camaraderie that builds up between the drivers. I mean, these guys are out there on their own. Yeah, they're communicating to one another, but they don't necessarily work in concert with each other every single day. But from the pictures that I saw and the stories that I heard, it's kind of one big family gathering, and everybody is all friends and everybody's getting along and everybody knows everybody. It's kind of like a Cheers feel where everybody knows your name. As the guy running the show, how's that make you feel to see that happen at the employee jamboree for Liquid Trucking?
Well, this is a little sappy, but it's the truth. It's pretty heartwarming. It's nice to see everybody. Lots of guys are bringing their family, their wives. It's good to see everybody, and in a lot of cases meet everybody, and just shoot the shit, just talk, and it doesn't need to be so serious like it is Monday through Friday when we're talking over the phone with everyone. So it was really neat, and we hope to keep having better and better turnouts each year.
Very cool. Well, Jason, I know we kind of waffled back and forth on whether or not I was going to make it out there this year, maybe do some type of live version of the podcast or something like that at the second annual Employee Jamboree. That didn't work out for us, but I'm going to keep that. I'm going to put a pin in it and say maybe next year I'll get out there and we can have the podcast be a part of the Employee Jamboree. I think it would be really cool, especially to put some faces to so many of the names that I've gotten to talk to on this show.
Hey, we would take DJ Fresh Marcus if you're willing to come out.
Yeah.
DJ Fresh Marcus might be an oversell there, Jason. Don't forget, these guys all know me.
I might have been throwing a little banter your way. You are an Oregon Ducks fan, so we're in Big Ten country, so we gotta do all we can. But before we end and wrap this thing, or and literally wrap the whole year, the podcast itself, who can forget? As a year in review, we're 50 plus episodes, and thankful to have you be a great host and connect with all of us and all the employees, and you're kind of like a center point as well. You bring everybody together and put a positive spin on everything when life doesn't always give the positive, the easy way through. And I think that everyone appreciates that. So I wanted to tell you thank you and good job for the year, and reflect on the podcast as well.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, Jason. It means a lot to me. It's been so cool. A lot of people don't realize that my days when I'm not recording are oftentimes just spent talking to drivers, texting them. They'll call me. We'll be in touch, talking about whether we're talking about recipes or football. Man, you guys got a lot of drivers on your squad that love to talk football. It's a great company that you guys run, and it's filled with fantastic people that work there, and that makes my job so easy. And I just can't thank you guys enough again for the opportunity. When you hear, hey, let's start your trucking fleet a podcast, not everybody is super excited about that idea right at the outset. We kind of have to be insidious with what we do here, and we've got to get in there and kind of, almost force people to get comfortable with you at first, but then as that happens, everybody starts to relax and loosen up, and the content gets really good, and I feel like we're riding that wave right now. It's not hard for me to get drivers on this podcast. I will say I would always like to have more drivers on the podcast. That's never going to change. But office staff is taking it very easy on me as well. You guys always come with lots to say. And again, Jason, Josh, I just can't thank you guys enough for giving us the opportunity to produce the Liquid Trucking podcast for you guys. It's been an amazing experience and a lot of fun, and we're just getting started.
Thank you, Marcus. We really appreciate it. You and your team have done a hell of a job. When we first kicked this off, we weren't sure what was going to happen or how it was going to turn out. It was sort of tough to envision, but because of your hard work and your expertise, I think it's been a huge success. It's one of those things that started out as being kind of an outside the box type of thought, and it's turned out. So congratulations, and once again, appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Without the company that you guys run every day and all the people working at it, we would not be able to do what we do here. So I think the really a general theme of this entire conversation here is to say thank you to everybody out there, and for way more than just one reason. Obviously, the job that you drivers do, we know it's not easy. We talk about it all the time on this podcast, and I am constantly blown away by the positivity that radiates through this company. I don't hear people upset. I don't get people pissed off. It's always fun. We're laughing. Everybody likes the gig. It's just such a cool opportunity, and I'm so grateful for it, gentlemen. And I want to wish you and your families both just a Merry Christmas. I hope everybody travels safe and gets to spend a lot of good quality time with the people that mean the most to us. And I hope that you guys will be out there in Nebraska doing that. It's a long distance wish out here from Oregon, but we're thinking about you guys for sure.
Thank you very much, and right back at you.
Thanks, Marcus. I want to add one more thing. In case anybody wants to look inside a Paycor, I know it's Christmas, but we did prepare a holiday letter. Don't expect everyone to read it, but it's just a couple paragraphs, kind of an appreciation letter for everyone to go along with the Christmas bonuses we provide our full-time employees. And hopefully we can end the year with positive vibes and go out with a bang.
Heck yeah. Let's ride the momentum right into 2025, gentlemen. Again, Jason, Josh, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for joining me here today, and Merry Christmas to both of you.
Thank you, Marcus.
Merry Christmas to you as well, and happy holidays, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.